One of these 10 names goes all the way back to the Russian throne itself. If your last name is Russian, odds are you're connected to the Boyars, the Cossack big shots, or even the Romanov crew. Stick around. Yours just might pop up on this list. Way before Russia was a massive empire we know today, it was a total patchwork of grand kingdoms, each one run by powerful Boyar families, and every single one of them left their mark on a last name. When the record keepers started writing stuff down, they weren't just jotting down random names. They were logging territory, political muscle, and bloodlines that, in some cases, stretched all the way back to the very founding of the Russian state. Nowadays, millions of folks carry one of these names without having a clue what it actually meant, which royal court their ancestors hustled for, or which battle their surname was born from. We dug up 10 of the heaviest Russian surnames still kicking around today. If your name is one of them, you now know exactly where your people came from. If your last name is Romanov, you're carrying the name of the last imperial dynasty to call the shots in Russia. The name comes from the first name Roman, basically meaning son of Roman, and it was first used by the kids of Nikita Romanovich to honor their grandpa, Roman Yurev. This family hit the big time when Anastasia Romanovna, Roman's daughter, became the first wife of Ivan the Terrible. Her brother Nikita's kids took the surname Romanov, and in 1613, Michael Romanov was crowned the first Tsar of the dynasty that would run Russia for over 3 centuries. We're talking a solid 304-year run, from 1613 until Nicholas II stepped down in 1917, turning Russia from a medieval backwater into a colossal empire that stretched from Poland all the way to the Pacific. But before the Romanovs grabbed the crown, another family was sitting pretty on that throne, and their name still echoes through Russian history today. If your last name is Godunov, your ancestors literally sat on the Russian throne at one point. The name comes from the old Russian personal name Godun, which historians think is tied to the word for God. This family climbed the ladder as boyars, serving the original Rurikid Tsars. Like a lot of Russian noble houses, the Godunovs actually trace their roots back to Tatar nobility who jumped into Russian service. Boris Godunov became Tsar in 1598 and held on to power until 1605, ruling right through the absolute chaos of the time of troubles, a brutal stretch of famine, civil war, and foreign invaders that totally defined the era. But while the Godunovs were running the show from the top, another family was flexing their power from right inside the Tsar's inner circle, and their name literally means attendant. If your last name is Sergeyev, your ancestors' name basically meant they were a servant to the Tsar. It comes from the first name Sergei, which translates to attendant or servant. This is a classic patronymic, meaning son of Sergei, and it was carried by families whose forefathers worked in the imperial court or the Tsar's military machine. Back in the 1700s and 1800s, last names based on service gig became super common as Russia bulked up its bureaucracy and army, and the name Sergei spread all across the empire as a badge of loyal duty. But serving the Tsar wasn't just a 9-to-5 job. For some families, it was a straight-up military tradition that went back for generations. If your last name is Novikov, your ancestors started serving the Tsar when they were just a teenager. The name comes from the old-school word Novik, which was a young teen from a noble, Boyar, or Cossack family pulling military duty back in the 16th to 18th centuries. These young guns got their start at court as apprentices or page boys, basically the new guys, and the name Novikov marked a family that made their way up through imperial military or civil service. By getting in so young, these Novikov ancestors were trained from childhood in warfare and politics, serving the Tsar for decades and climbing the ranks of the Russian nobility. But while the Novikovs were making moves at court, another name was coming straight out of the steppes, one that meant a completely different kind of warrior. If your last name is Platov, your people were the legendary Don Cossacks who fought hard for the Tsar. The name Platov comes straight from Don Cossack roots, based on an old Cossack family name. This crew rose up from the Cossack steppes to become full-on count of the Russian Empire. The Cossacks started out as independent frontier badasses, but they eventually became a super privileged and vital part of the Imperial Russian army. Check this out. Count Matvey Ivanovich Platov, who lived from 1751 to 1818, led the Don Cossacks against Napoleon, got named Ataman of the Don Cossacks by Tsar Alexander I, and even snagged an honorary degree from the University of Oxford in 1814. And the Platovs weren't the only Cossack family to earn a count's title. Another name from the Don region rose just as high. If your last name is Denisov, your ancestors were some of the most powerful Cossacks in all of Russian history. The name comes from the first name Denis, so it means son of Denis. This was a big deal Russian noble family with Don Cossack origins. They trace their line straight back to a commander named Denis Ilin, who actually left his home in Novgorod because of religious persecution and set up shop with the Cossacks. Members of this family held the title of Count in the Russian Empire starting in 1799. Fyodor Petrovich Denisov, 1738 to 1803, became a general of cavalry and was the very first count of the Don Cossacks, while his grandson Vasily Orlov Denisov even tacked Denisov onto his own last name in 1801 to honor the legacy. The Cossacks gave Russia some of its all-time greatest warriors, but other families trace their background to a different kind of power, cold, hard cash. If your last name is Demidov, your people literally armed the entire Russian Empire. The name comes from the first name Demid, which is a Russian twist on the Greek name Dimes. Nikita Demitovich Antiphaev, 1656 to 1725, was just a blacksmith from Tula who took the surname Demidov in 1702. He went from total humble beginnings to becoming one of Russia's richest industrialists by cranking out weapons for Peter the Great. Peter hooked the Demidovs up with massive land grants, and the family used that fat cash to buy their way into noble status. Their iron foundries and arms factories kept the Russian military stocked up for generations. But while the Demidovs served the Tsar with iron and steel, another family served with a sword, and their name straight up means warrior. If your last name is Voinov, your ancestors' name literally meant warrior. It's derived from the Russian word voin, which means soldier or fighter. This is a pretty common Russian surname, originally used to label someone who worked as a soldier or was tight with the military. Families rocking the name Voinov served in the Tsar's armies through centuries of non-stop conflict, from the wars against the Ottoman Empire all the way to the Napoleonic campaigns. Their very name says it all about their martial calling. But not all service to the Tsar happened on the battlefield. Some families served in the highest government council behind closed doors. If your last name is Dolgoruki, your folks claim they were directly descended from the very guy who founded Russia. The name translates to long-armed in Russian, basically a shout-out to the family's super far-reaching influence. This princely family claimed descent from Rurik, the semi-legendary founder of the first Russian state. They served as boyars and military commanders to the Tsars for centuries. Vasily Vladimirovich Dolgoruki became a high-ranking military officer and sat on the Supreme Privy Council, which was basically the most powerful governing body in Russia at the time. The family's pull stretched from the earliest days of the Russian state all the way to the fall of the empire. The Dolgorukis trace their line to Rurik, but another princely family claimed descent from a different kind of royal blood, the princes of Chernigov. If your last name is Gorchakov, you come from the royal blood of Chernigov. The name is of Russian noble origin, probably based on a place or an old ancestral title. The House of Gorchakov is a Russian noble family that claims descent from Michael of Chernigov. They served the Tsars in the highest diplomatic and military offices you could get. The family didn't really blow up until the 18th century, but once they did, they became one of the most influential noble houses in the Russian Empire, proof that loyal service to the Tsar could shoot a family straight to the top of the food chain. 10 names, 10 bloodlines, every single one forged in service to the Russian crown. 10 names, 10 dynasties, 10 bloodlines that shaped Russia's history way before anyone was even writing it down. From Romanov and Godunov to Dolgoruki and Gorchakov, these surnames were never just simple labels. They were territory, power, and survival, all passed down through centuries. If your name popped up today, or even if it didn't, drop it in the comments and I'll dig into what I can find for you. And if you want to see the next 10 names uncovered, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.